Hey, thanks for having me today. I'd like to go ahead and first set the record straight. I'm the second best athlete to ever come out of Florida Atlantic behind my beautiful wife, Nicole. She played volleyball there, okay? I have to go ahead and set the record straight. All right, so the first person I'm going to introduce, a friend of mine that I was able to bring along. He is from the great Northwest, right? Washington. And he played college ball at University of Washington, where he also set a bunch of records, I'm sure. And his name is Jake Locker. All right, the second person I'd like to introduce is another really close friend of mine. He is from the Northeast, the Boston area, right? He's got a real strong accent. I'm sure he'll share it with you today. But he played football also in Seattle, so he was there for 10 years. He didn't get the memo about wearing a Ducks Unlimited shirt, so I'm going to have to give him a hard time about that, and that's Matt Hasselbeck.
Well, we could talk all day about football and about records that you guys have set. I was thinking today that there are fewer than 100 men in the country who get paid to throw a football, and 3 of them are with us today. So we could talk football, but what we want to talk for a few minutes is the intersection of football and faith, football and family, and football and the friendship that the 3 of you have. And so I wanted to begin by asking the question, just which one came first for you all, faith or football? And kind of who led you to love football, but even more than that, who led you to love the Lord? And Matt, I was going to let you start.
Well, can I just set the record straight real quick? We like to haze in the locker room. And so what really happened with the wardrobe here, I told these guys that the Duck Dynasty crew was here today when they're really here in like 2 weeks.
There you go.
That's why they're dressed like this, okay? So it's really just another form of hazing with our younger guys.
Well done.
I grew up, my father actually played football in the NFL. I was born when he was in school at Colorado. I was born in Boulder, Colorado. And so really, and my parents weren't really strong in their faith until probably 3rd grade for me. And so what I actually remember is nothing but football in my family and nothing but parents and a family that was, committed in their walk with God and just like, church, you're just like very involved. And so as I got older and maybe was in high school and even in college, I learned more about the story of my family and the story of my parents. And I really couldn't believe really who they were prior to me being in 3rd grade. I think both together, and I've really never known anything except that.
What about you, Jake?
For me, it was probably football was what I grew to love first, and it was probably my dad. My dad coached me in everything from the time I was real young, and I loved playing sports. I loved being outside and being active, and so I loved that. And I think probably with most people, it was my mom dragging me to church and making me go on Sundays. I never wanted to go. I wanted to stay home and watch football with Dad, but she would drag me to church, and then I actually had a coach my sophomore year in high school that really kind of challenged me. He became our head coach, was my position coach the year before, became our head coach our sophomore year, and really challenged me and a group of my buddies to become stronger believers and understand what that really meant, and started a Bible study with us, and that's where it kind of started, and then, kind of grew from there, yeah.
Great. What about you, Rusty?
I would say that it was definitely my faith first. I was very, very fortunate to have a mom and dad that grew up in the church themselves, and they raised their family, me and my younger sister, in the church. I didn't start playing football until I was in the 8th grade, so, and then football took off from there. But I grew up playing baseball and basketball, so it was my faith that was instilled in me first.
That's great. That's great. And you played baseball, and Jake, you played baseball too, right? Matt, you played baseball?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got a lot of baseball players out here too, so that's great. But tell me this, okay, you guys live a very disciplined life, right? What does a day's regiment look like?
Well, define very disciplined. I mean,
Okay. Discipline.
Because Chick-fil-A is still on the list.
All
You know what I
right.
mean? It's
That's
not
good.
like, it's not, I
That's
think
good.
some people think professional athletes, they think, oh, this is a strict diet. I mean, if you could see, especially this guy over here, what he eats, it's amazing. It's truly inspiring.
Well, I was a little bit curious about, okay, so maybe your dietary bit isn't that great.
Hey,
but,
I'm getting better, okay? I'm getting better.
But-
Right, Nicole? Thank you. I'm getting better.
Well, but tell me, how does faith and discipline play out in your lives? So you work out hard, but how do you find the time? Because students have never been busier than they are today. And how do you find the time to carve out for your faith in the midst of what you're doing?
Just for me in particular, I don't think it's like you have spiritual time and then you have, work or sport, like your family. It's everything. I mean, it's in everything that you do. At our church this year, one of the challenges that we kind of put to our family through something that we heard was just being consciously aware at all times of God's presence in all things. Whether you're getting ready to play the Super Bowl or you're getting ready to do 5th grade math homework, which might actually be harder from my perspective. So just being consciously aware of God's presence in every single thing that you do, small or big, no matter if you're with the guys in the locker room, with your parents, with your siblings, with people you don't know. That's at least from my perspective.
That's great. What about you, Rusty?
I would definitely have to piggyback on that and say it's everything. You do have to be conscious of making sure that you do get in the Word and you do spend some quiet time alone. And I would say that would be the most discipline aspect for me. It's really never been an issue as far as being tempted to go out and do things with guys that I didn't really feel like was God-like, Christian-like. So that has never been, thankfully, an issue for myself. The hardest part for me was getting in the Word and spending quiet time, but that's definitely gotten better as I've gotten older.
That's great. Great. You got anything to add, Jake?
We play a game in the locker room. Matt kind of brought it to us.
We play a game in the locker room.
It's called Daily Bread. You have the Daily Bread, just a verse and kind of a thought for the day. And
Yeah. Are you familiar with the book?
Yeah.
Okay, so the little book, Daily Bread. We play a game. It's just a game. I don't know how people feel about this, but this is what we do. I'm just being honest, okay?
So we play, and you like Matt started it and invited some people, and then once you're invited, you can invite other people. But the game goes, if you can be part of the early morning or first sight club, which is the first time you're seen by somebody, they can ask you a question, or the 9 a.m. So you have until 9 a.m. to read it. So like when you show up to work in the morning, get out of your car, Matt could say something about the story you read that day to me. And if I didn't know what he was talking about, I didn't read my Daily Bread, and I had to put $1 into our Daily Bread box. And that's the same way with everybody that agreed to play in the locker room. So kind of a fun way to get people engaged, even if they're not sure where they are in their faith, but just to in a roundabout way, convince them to read, get in the Scripture every day, and find some kind of reason to. And it made it fun, it made it enjoyable, and
That's
at
great.
the end of the year, you have a good amount of money to donate to something, so it's
great.
good.
That's great. Well, tell me about college. Tell me about, if you think back about college, what inspired your faith while you were in college? And if you could do it again, is there anything that you do differently about those years?
Well, I was very fortunate whenever my freshman year, I got plugged into one of the local churches, and I ended up meeting this guy. He was, I guess at the time, he was 29 and I was 19, so we're 10 years apart. And he definitely was like a mentor to me at the time. He ended up being the best man at my wedding. His wife became very close with Nicole, who was maid of honor in our wedding. So they had a very, very strong impact on our lives. And just getting plugged in with the right people from the very beginning was very important in my walk through college.
That's great.
Mine was completely different than that. I grew up in a strong Christian home, awesome church, but it was real strict in my house. And so I got to college, and it was like game on. Like, I'm freedom, there's no rules to anything. Now, I was playing football, and this guy named Tom Coughlin, who's the head coach of the Giants, he was my coach, so he was real strict. But I was the opposite. I was like, hey, I got this, I'll do it my way. And my way didn't work, at all. And it was a crash and burn. didn't drink or anything like that in high school, and then college, again, it was just like, well, the guys in my position that I'm trying to be like, this is what they're doing, so, I mean, it's working for them, I'll try it. And again, so I was doing it my way, which was kind of their way, but it was a crash and burn all the way. So it wasn't until probably, I mean, there were little moments along the way. As you know, college can kind of be like this, lots of highs and lots of lows. But it was really through failure, like failure after failure after failure. And then I was really bad at saying no to things, and I got asked to go on this mission trip. And I'd love to say that I ended up going on this trip. We were working with victims of leprosy. I would love to say that it was like my heart was like pulled towards it. I just was bad at saying no, and I gave a bad excuse and was stuck. And so I had to go on this trip, and it was just like things like that where I just felt like God was really chasing after me and saying, okay, you've tried it your way. How's that working for you? And so it was steady growth, but it was not how I would hope for it for my kids.
Gotcha.
Mine's kind of similar to Matt's. I grew up in high school. I was pretty by the books. I didn't drink, didn't do any of that kind of stuff, didn't mess around with it. I got to college, and my second year started to drink a little bit, and that kind of, for me, was something that took over a little bit. I liked being the life of the party. I liked everybody like, oh yeah, let's go over to Jake's house and have a party over there. He's a lot of fun. And so that kind of got something that I enjoyed, I liked. And I was seeking approval in the wrong way and from the wrong people. And so for college for me was kind of where I kind of veered in my life. And it wasn't really until last year we went to PAO. It was a professional athletes outreach, and Matt actually had let us know about it, and we went, me and my wife, and I kind of understood how hard I was making it on the people in my life doing those types of things. And, you know, I feel good that I can say, you know, I never did anything to compromise our relationship at that time in marriage now with my wife, but you know, just from a trust factor to know that, hey, I'm going to go out and go have a beer with one of my buddies after work. I can understand where she wouldn't have trusted me in that because I had a hard time having one or having two and coming home. That was hard for me. And so that was something I really was confronted with a year ago at this conference and realized that my wife was pregnant at the time. We knew we were having a little girl, and that wasn't who I wanted her to see. That wasn't the father that I wanted to be to her. And so it became important to me to kind of change that about myself. And as soon as I did that, that's when I really kind of committed myself to my faith and growing in my faith, seeking the Lord in everything that I did and trying to find ways to learn more about Him, know more about Him. And so I would say for me, it didn't even happen in college probably until last year where I pretended like I was before. We went this year, just got back actually a couple weeks ago, and Lecrae put it perfectly. He said he was living in a heart divided. He was one person to certain people and another person to other people, and he was lying to both of them. And I didn't want to be that anymore, and at that point, that's kind of when that started to change for me.
That's awesome. And it seems to me like you three guys have figured out how to, I mean, you guys compete against each other, right? But yet at the same time, it seems like you found some way to compete and root, to be friends, and yet try to bring out the best. I'm assuming you guys try to beat each other and things. Tell me how that works. That's a fascinating relationship.
I mean, it's just like having brothers in a sense. Like I grew up in a family of 3 boys. We would compete in everything, and usually someone ends up crying, usually the younger. We haven't had that yet, not to my knowledge. Do you cry? You guys cry?
We wait till we get home.
Okay. But I mean, first of all, it's fun to compete. I mean, we probably wouldn't have the jobs that we have if we didn't compete, but it just makes us all better. I had this quarterback coach when I played for Seattle. His name was Jim Zorn. He was actually an awesome quarterback for the Seahawks, and then was my position coach. And after one of the years, we had just this really awesome year there. He gave us all swords, like legit swords. Well, I don't know if they were legit. They were like a letter opener, but still, they looked kind of cool. Okay, and he wrote us this really cool letter, and it was Proverbs 27:17. It says, "As iron sharpens iron, so, like another man sharpens another, and one man sharpens another." And that's exactly what had happened that year with that group of guys, and that's really what I've felt for the 2 years that we've been together. I mean, we are definitely pushing each other, competing with each other, making each other better, calling each other out. And
Tell me about that a little bit. What is it?
It's always 2-on-1. So like if like he and I have an argument and Jake comes in, he'd be like, "No, I side with you." It's just like, all right, we're with that, you know. It's always if it's 2-on-1. Like,
and when that happens, when the third person decides, you can't bow up and try and keep arguing your case. I know that from experience that it doesn't work.
Gotcha.
They just give you more hard of a time.
Gotcha.
And then you get mad.
Yeah, I think that it's an awesome relationship to know that when you go to work, you better bring it because the other two guys in your room are gonna, and if you don't want to fall behind them, you better be ready to work, and that's a great feeling. I think that's the relationship that we're able to share is one that we're able to be proud of because we do push each other, and there's no secret that we're all trying to be the number one guy, no doubt. But the greatest part about our relationship, I feel, is then at the end of the day when the smoke clears, whoever is going to get the best support from the other two guys and vice versa. There's no resentment. There's no withholding it from any of that kind of stuff. We're very open to share things with each other and at the end of the day want the best for everybody else in the room. And it's an awesome situation to be in.
yeah, and like our goal, like I don't think any of our goals, even though it's awesome, I don't think any of our goals is to be the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans and then boom, drop the mic, we're good. You know, like we have bigger and better aspirations, as awesome as that is. And so we're just pushing each other to be the best that we can be. But I can honestly say, I'm 37 years old, so I'm close to the oldest. I actually am the oldest guy on the team. And these guys, how old are you? You're like 24 and 26. So these guys make me better. I mean, the way, like especially this clown in the weight room, he's ridiculous. Like the way that he forces us to work in the weight room. I mean, this week I've benched more on the bench press than I have in my life. I deadlifted yesterday because I'm trying to keep up with these two guys and just the way that they push. I mean, there's leaders on our team in all different facets. These guys are leaders in all different ways, but for sure for me, I just feel like I'm just trying to keep up with them with a lot of the things that they do.
Talk to me about leadership a little bit because it's interesting. Your quarterback coach is now your offensive coordinator, I think, right? Yeah. And you've got a running back who wants you to run the ball all the time, and you've got some receivers who want to pass the ball all the time. And how do you guys perform as leaders on the team, dealing with kind of the egos that are all part of professional football? And what does it mean to be a leader or a captain or whatever as it relates to all of that?
I just think it's finding ways to get everybody on the same page, everybody believing in one thing and going in the same direction. Competitively, yeah, you're going to want the ball every play. If you are a great player, you want the ball in your hands. But you also want what's best for your team. And I think that's the overall goal, is understanding that, hey, look, for the running back, when you're throwing the ball, if we're throwing the ball successfully, it's going to open up running lanes for you because they're going to have to start defending the pass. And vice versa. If we're running the ball well, it helps out the passing game. So everything works together to be successful. And the greatest teams don't just throw the ball, don't just run the ball. They do everything really well, and they're all on the same page. They understand their roles within their offense, within their team. And I think that's the goal as a leader is to get guys to get to that point.
Got it. Do you guys feel like the owner seems to put more pressure on making the playoffs or having a successful year by his terms this year? Does that translate to you guys? Do you feel any more pressure, or because of the way you play, it doesn't really matter? What's your feeling about that?
There's tons of pressure. I mean, there's pressure with you're letting your teammates down, letting your coach down, letting the 60,000 people in the stadium down, letting the millions of people on watching on TV, the people that own you in fantasy football. Ironically, there's more pressure from those people than real people. But we do a thing. We come out of the tunnel. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Gladiator. seen the movie Gladiator? Probably. And like they're in the tunnel there, and like they can hear the crowd chanting like Maximus, Maximus, or whatever they're chanting. And it's kind of what it's like coming out of these stadiums. They're real beautiful stadiums, but in that tunnel, it's like dark, dreary tunnel with just, I don't know, and you can hear the crowd out there, sort of. But we come out, and we're in this tunnel, and there's smoke, and sometimes there's fire, and we huddle up, and one of us will say a prayer, and our quarterback coach will join us. And typically, I mean, our prayer is never really the same, but it doesn't matter who's saying it. But the gist of the prayer is this, and the gist of the prayer is hey, God, we're thankful for this opportunity, and there's so much pressure on us right now, potentially, or the person playing. But let's, our prayer is that we would play for an audience of one today, that we would just do the absolute best with what you gave us, and that we would honor you with what we do and what we say. And at the end of the day, I think we can all sleep in that. Like, you can feel good about, you can look in the mirror and feel like, I did everything that I could with this opportunity that you gave me. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm not playing for his approval or their approval or even the approval here. You're just playing for the approval of one, and the rest of it takes care of itself. And I know for me, coming out of that tunnel, it can be a little like you're ready to like cover a kick and like hit somebody in the head. And as a quarterback, you need to be, thinking straight. And to hear one of these guys pray for me, or if I'm praying for them as we come out, it's, I don't know, it puts me in the right spot, gives me the right perspective.
One of the things that, Matt, you commented on was getting kind of maybe hoodwinked into a mission trip. I'm curious about missions, and have you been on mission trips? I think I read something about you went to Jamaica or something like that. But tell me about, have you all had any opportunities to go share your faith other places, and what did you learn from that? Rusty, you want to?
I haven't been out of the country on a missions trip, but I have been to a place in Louisiana that got hit real hard by Hurricane Katrina. We were able to go down there, and we did extreme makeover church edition on 3 different churches down there.
Wow.
So it was really cool to see how bad of shape that these churches were in, and that they didn't have any way to fund their makeover. And we were able to come in, and we had raised quite a bit of money to help with that. We had some contractors donate their time that came down there, and we basically took over the church for a week and built them up from scratch, and that was a really life-changing experience for a lot of people in our church group.
Gotcha. What did you learn from it? I mean, personally.
It opened my eyes to a lot of things. People are a lot less fortunate than what I am, and it humbled me a lot while we were there.
That's great. That's great. Either one of you?
Well, just overall, like the irony with everything that I've done to sort of like quote unquote help people, they have helped me way like 100 times more than I have helped them. I mean, even when I went and like with the leprosy victims, I mean, here I am, this like well-to-do 19-year-old college kid going down to help these poor people. And this elderly leper had more of an impact on my life than Brett Favre, Mike Holmgren, and John Elway combined, ironically. So I don't know. It just, for me, it's I don't even know what that means, but that means something. Great. And my wife's actually getting ready to go to Guatemala on a trip that I was supposed to go on. And she really wanted to go, and it was like over Easter, and I'm like, well, I'll go. And she's like, no, I want to go. And I'm like, well, who's going to stay with the kids? So she's going without me, with one of my teammates who plays for my old teammates who plays for the Minnesota Vikings. Wow. So it's something that I know is important to all of us, and just fitting it into what we're doing is sometimes the challenge.
Yeah, like Rusty, I've never been out of the country.
But he's from Canada. I'm going to throw it out there again.
Yeah. No. Rusty's been in my house. He knows how beautiful it is where I grew up. So, he takes shots, but he just wishes he was from there. So just a few things. My grandfather was really started Habitat for Humanity when I was younger, and he'd build houses in our county for underprivileged families. And so he'd take me along a lot of times doing that. Again, I was young, so I didn't really understand it, but I've heard a coach put it this way just recently, and he had all his players, wants them to make this collage of a compared to what? He calls it a compared to what poster. And so just pick a bunch of different pictures of people. And so, like, he had one, for example, it had, like, Pat Tillman, like, oh, you're making a sacrifice compared to what? Oh. Compared to the sacrifice he made? Mm-hmm. Or a guy wrestling with half an arm and half a leg. Oh, your shoulder hurts or your arm hurts compared to what? You have one, you know? And so just always reminding yourself, or like, you know, kids in third world countries that are eating one meal a day. Oh, you don't like the meal your mom made you? Compared to what? You got 3 meals today. And so just kind of putting everything in perspective, like, look how good we have it. You have nothing to complain about, and you need to give more of yourself. And I thought that was a great way to look at it.
That is a great way. You know, one of the things that you don't really know about Lipscomb is that the graduating class last year, over half of our student body went on a mission trip while they were here in school. And our athletes just got back from a mission trip during the Christmas holidays that transformed lives and really kind of changed things. But talking about what you're doing locally is kind of exciting. So I heard, you know, some talk about Habitat for Humanity. I think I heard something about 147 million orphans and some concerns there. Talk to me about what you do here in the local area to kind of get involved and do something to change the community.
Well, actually, ironically, I think the Tennessee Titans do an awesome job of getting out and doing things in the community. And so really our reach, like whether it's going and visiting with an elementary school or at Thanksgiving or things like that, it's almost like not even of our choosing, like we're just joining in the team. Gotcha. And some of the things that we're doing. In particular for me personally, my wife and I have been involved in this organization called International Justice Mission, which is part of the End It movement campaign. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but basically there's 27 million people living in slavery in our world today, and 200,000 of those are in America, which is something, like, when we first heard of it, we were like, well, there's no way that's really true. And then we've sort of investigated, and it is true. And so that's something right now that Sarah and I are really committed to doing something about. Jake and I started we shot a PSA yesterday. Was that yesterday? I don't know, this week, for IJM and for the End It movement.
It's great.
But we've all done things like that.
You know, one of the things, too, about Lipscomb is that the student body here was the number 3 student body in the country for service hours per student. And I tell you that more to tell you that when you're wanting to know where to turn to get somebody to help you with a service project, there's a woman here named Kristen Schatzer, and she'd be glad to kind of help line up. And you're looking at the most service-oriented group of students in the city, so for what that's worth. But tell me this, Proverbs tells us that he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And I wanted you guys to tell us, what do you think is the secret to finding a good wife?
Happy wife is a happy life.
Happy wife, happy life.
No, I think that, again, we went to PAO this weekend or last week, and the main message of it, which spoke a lot to me, I know, was be willing to give 100% of yourself and expect nothing in return. He talked about a consumer relationship as opposed to a covenant relationship. And a consumer relationship is, what can you do for me? What are you giving me at what price? And a consumer relationship, if somebody comes along that's going to offer you the same product at a cheaper price, you're going to go with that one. And that was their explanation for why divorce rates are as high as they are and why marriages are struggling the way they are. But if you live in a covenant relationship where in a covenant relationship, you give and expect nothing in return. And instead of, when maybe if your marriage isn't going well, instead of looking at your spouse like, oh, she's not doing this or she's not doing that, why isn't she doing this for me? Look at yourself. What can I do? Have I been doing everything I can? When I get home from work, am I kicking my feet up on the couch and she's been home with our daughter all day and I'm asking her to spend 2 more hours with her when I'm just relaxing? Because, and just understanding the lives that your spouse lives in and doing the things that mean something to them that is hard for you. I know for me it's like chores around, like inside the house. I hate vacuuming. I hate folding clothes. I hate washing dishes. But I know that my wife loves it when I do one of those things for her. So after dinner, it doesn't have to be every night, but hey, I'll do the dishes tonight. That's a nice thing for her. She enjoys that. In the same way that when we're going somewhere, I love to be on time. I hate being late. I get nervous if we got dinner reservation and we're not going to be on time.
Bless
and my
you.
wife is the opposite. She's like, oh, I start telling her, I tell her like, oh, we got a 7:30, we really have a 7:30 reservation. I tell her we have a 7 reservation. I give myself a half-hour buffer room. But she, in the same way that if I do the dishes, do something, if we're like, hey, we got to be at this thing at this time, and she's ready and in the car and ready to go when a time we've agreed on, it's a little thing, but I know that she made an effort to do something that means something to me. And in the end, I think that's what it is, just understanding what you can do for your spouse.
That was really good. I was taking notes.
How can you back that up?
Well, I can tell you how I met my wife.
You can't back that up.
That's the difficulty.
I believe you did not answer the question, though. The question was, what was the question?
How do you find a good wife?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell you how I met my wife, okay? So
That was the question.
But it's good.
That's my fault.
That was a good answer, though.
No,
Good
it's
answer.
a great answer. It was a great answer. It's a great
Met her in
answer.
college, by the way.
I met my wife at freshman orientation. This is before they had computers to register for classes. So we went in. We were in the business school together at Boston College. And I basically went in with not the best of intentions of finding the right classes for me. I basically did this. I looked around. I tried to find the prettiest girl I could find, found her, sat behind her, copied her class schedule. Bam. I improved my odds of marrying. It was great. Then she'd see me in like 4 out of 5 classes, and she's like, oh, you're in this class? I'm like, must be destiny.
Hey, it
So
worked.
go ahead. You can use that. No guarantees. It's a start. You can lead a horse to water. You got to do the rest.
That's great. That's great. Well, we're going to run out of time here. I wanted to ask you 2 questions to close. One is, what advice would you just give to this group of people gathered today? We got middle school over here. We got the high school over here. We've got the student body, professors. Everybody's here. So, what advice would you give as far as faith and life, and what would you say?
God is great, and He's always going to take care of you. He promises us in the Bible that not to worry, because He's always got us in the palm of His hand. If you're living right with God, and He's always going to take care of you. In just a little bit, it's in this profession, it's very hard to be comfortable in one position. Matt's played for 3 teams in his career, and it's not normal. It's not uncommon to play for 5 different teams in 7 years. So if you're sitting at your house worrying where you're gonna be tomorrow, then you're just wasting time, and you're not putting your faith in God and saying that He's gonna take care of you no matter what. Yeah, you may have to do something that you're uncomfortable doing, but hey, it's probably gonna lead to something else, as far as maybe bringing somebody else to Christ, or maybe brightening up somebody's day that needed it, or who was having a bad day. Or so know that He's always in control. He knows what's gonna happen, and have faith that He's gonna take care of you.
I think for me, I think Rusty's kind of taught me this, but Rusty is a brutally honest a lot of times, and he a lot of times doesn't worry about the consequences of some of the things he says, which is great. It's awesome. It's I believe how
Sometimes.
more of us should be. It's hard though, because our society tells us to make it easy for people, and Rusty lives in his faith and walks in his faith every day, and you see that. And you see that through the honesty that he carries with people. He's not worried about hurting their feelings, as long as he knows he's saying the right thing or doing the right thing. And I think that's powerful. I think that's something that is something that I know that I look up to him in that way. I wish I could be more like him in that way. And so I think it's something that's really powerful, and just honesty, being honest, and not worrying about maybe what that person thinks about your honesty, but understanding that it's coming from the heart, and it's coming from somewhere that you can feel good about it.
I don't necessarily have advice for you. I can just share what my advice to myself is. My advice to myself right now, at this point in my life, probably just 2 things. I just want to keep growing and keep just be in a place where I'm moving and growing. And sometimes I feel like there's places of growth where I don't know if I can get to. But the thing that I sort of pray for and I'm aware of is that God doesn't need my ability He just needs my availability. And so just that's my prayer for myself, that I'm just available to do whatever he wants to do, and then just being available and willing and ready.
That's awesome. Hey, instead of just being fans, we'd love to inspire some people here to be praying for you guys too. And if you could say, hey, one thing I'd love for you to pray for, or when you see me on Sundays, here's the prayer that would most help me right before the big event. What would you ask if you were going to ask some people to be partnering to pray with you guys?
A great offensive line.
Amen.
Sorry. It's true, though. I mean, my wife prays for me probably more than anybody in the world, and not probably, definitely. And I know that, like, that's probably right at the top of her list. I mean, sort of. I mean, that's one thing, like, I know she's very specific with her prayers. And I know for me, like, I was very specific with a prayer coming out of the NFL lockout. And looking back how it all shook out, I wish I had been more specific. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Like, I prayed. It was going to be hard for me to choose. It was the first time where I was going to be a free agent and get to choose to leave Seattle, potentially. And my prayer basically was like, God, I just pray that you would make this decision clear for me. And so I get a phone call from Pete Carroll, and he's like, hey, we don't want you. I was like, okay, that's pretty clear. So just specific prayers or something. So I don't know.
So yet again, you didn't answer the question.
I think for us, just that if I'm asking for a prayer request.
There it was. You guys saw it. Look at that. That was perfect.
My prayer would be that I would be authentic in my relationship. I mean, in a locker room setting, I've seen it where people are real churchy and they can memorize verses, and they wear FCA T-shirts, and some are legit and some aren't. And I just would never want to be somebody that's not legit. If in a locker room setting, there's people you get along with, there's people you don't necessarily get along with. The person I would never want to be is someone who basically disqualifies the message of Jesus by the way they live their life instead of how they talk. And so that'd be my prayer for myself, just that I would be authentic. That's great.
Safety is always one it's a big one. Like Matt touched on it. The offensive line joke is a perfect one. But safety is always a fallback. If you don't know what to pray for, just pray for safety.
That's it.
But one that's specific for me is to be a charismatic leader, somebody that has got a great personality on the sideline that can lift somebody up who just made a bad play or made a bonehead mistake or something like that. It's not very in my nature to go out of my way to try and lift somebody up with an attitude that can make them feel better about themselves. So pray for charismatic leadership.
That's great.
For me.
That's good.
For me, probably just pray that when people watch us play and watch me play, they truly believe that I compete the way that Christ would have. A fierce competitor, leaves everything out there, but at the end of the day, loves the people they play against, cares about the people they play against, and understands that it is just a game. So, have fun with it and enjoy it.
It's great. We're going to invite Brent High up. Brent High is our Assistant Athletic Director for Spiritual Formation. And you may think that he is Cy Robertson's son. Hey. But he's come up. He's got a few gifts for you. But I think he's also going to pray for us at the end of our time together. So, Brent, you want this?
Well, we know you boys love ducks, and we love ducks too. In fact, even before Duck Dynasty, we built an entire lake behind the baseball field just for ducks. And now, in exactly 50 days from today, on this very stage, we'll have Miss Kay, Uncle Cy, and Phil Robertson, and a mystery guest from Duck Dynasty. And so, since you guys are quarterbacks, you may or may not know Phil Robertson actually was a quarterback. And he started ahead of Terry Bradshaw. And so we're going to give you a chance to win tickets to our sold-out Duck Dynasty show and a chance to meet Uncle Si, Phil, and Miss Kay and the mystery guest. But we're going to start you out with a warm-up toss, and if my receivers will make their way out into the
Well, you know,
always here.
I'm only allowed to throw 10 yards, so they got to be right here in front of me.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so we're going to start out. You're going to throw a short pass first, get you warmed up, and that'll be for a Lipscomb sweatshirt. And then we'll go for the big dog here at the end. And you're throwing to our intramural football championship team at the university. So these guys should have pretty good hands. They're spreading out all over the arena. So, Rusty, you look ready. All right, you're playing. First shot is for a Lipscomb sweatshirt. Pick you out a receiver and let it rip.
I'd rather somebody be a little bit closer.
All right, congratulations. All right, Matt, pick one out. All right, right here in the middle. Yeah, if you hit them, you win, okay?
Yeah, did they all sign releases?
My first throw of the day usually goes a little high and right, so all you ladies right there, yeah, just be careful. Just be really careful.
All right, here we go. Don't hit the donors, please. All right, congratulations. All right, Jake, pick one out. I'm going safe. I like that. Okay. Fantastic. Oh, my! That guy is not going to live that down. All right.
Spiral.
Now,
You need a spiral.
we have one more toss. This time you're going for the big prize for tickets for you and your family to see the Duck Dynasty show at the sold-out event in April. And you're going to have to go a little deeper with this one. All right, happy is correct. All right, so we'll go in reverse order this time. So, Jake, you want to start with the first toss here?
Yeah, I got to stay a little shorter. I'm not.
All right, not warmed up yet. All right. This is for the Duck Dynasty tickets and meet and greet.
Yeah.
Go for it. All right. Tickets for you. All right, Matt, pick one out. Oh, we're going deep. I like that.
Hey, move back there.
Oh, I like the deep guy. That would be good right there. All right, here we go. Nice grab.
Now, wait. Rusty's got a hose. For anybody who doesn't know, Rusty can really chuck it. So I think we test him a little bit.
What about
Yeah, I think we can get.
I'm quite okay with having him right here.
Who agrees? I think there's a little more adrenaline. Duck Dynasty tickets are
Let's
on.
build it up. Let's go.
Rusty could throw it across the gym right now, I think. Across the gym.
I'm going to the guy in the gray sweatshirt back there, all right?
Oh, he's got to
here
move
we
back.
go.
You got to move back. This is Rusty Smith.
Time out. This
a
is my
pitching wedge
second
for him.
throw in like 3 months, okay?
So Rusty's strength as a quarterback is he can just throw the ball like a rocket. And we call him the human jugs machine. He can throw it far, hard.
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy.
Oh! We like it. We do have a training room with ice underneath the stands here. Hey, guys, thank you so much for being here. At this time, we want to welcome to the stage our president, Dr. Lowry, and he is going to pray over these guys.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. It's a wonderful moment when we as a community can gather. Mustangs, we're glad you're here. Bison, thank you for welcoming them to our chapel. We want to close in a word of prayer. Would you join me and let's bring their families up? That's a great idea. Come on up. Why don't you welcome the families that are with them? Hey, look at that. Great. Okay, let's pray together. Our gracious Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to gather as a community today. Thank you for the opportunity for the Academy and the University to come together for this moment. We appreciate so much the reminder that we can reflect you in whatever we do, and we thank you for the example of these three young men who share every week their talent with the world, but also have shared with us this morning their sense of faith in you. Allow us to see you working in their lives and allow you to work in ours. Bless us as a community And Father, we especially lift up Coach Mack, the football high school coach who has some physical challenges. We love him. We have had a long history with him. And we would ask especially today that he feel a sense of your presence, and the doctors who are caring for him do so in a way that he is healed. Father, bless us in the rest of our day here. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.